give it to him. But yesterday, the team owner, Jed York, he kept it all positive. Take a listen.
I think he is. I think he's great. And especially when you combine him with Kyle and you combine him with what we have, he's a heck of a quarterback. And you want him to be here for a long, long time.
What did he say?
Combine them
He said
with
he's
Kyle
Uh-oh.
and combine them with our team.
I'm sorry. Oh, we're live? I'm sorry. That was that's what the owner was saying. I just want to take the. Sorry about that.
Chase, it's on you. Do you agree that he's a top 10 quarterback? He's great, Brock Purdy.
This is a very interesting and elevated conversation that we not only are going to have right now, but we had a very spirited conversation in our pregame meeting. Yes, I do. I agree that Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback. And when you look at top 10 quarterbacks, I just want to just purely, for right now, before I get into this graphic, I want to show you. The top 10 quarterbacks in the league are the top 31% of the quarterbacks in the league. So Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is in the top 31% of quarterbacks in the league. Let's show the graphic. So I did tiers. This is not in order. We wanted faces up there, okay? So tier one. Tier one to me is like, you can put the team on your back time and time again. You are a truly elite talent thrower of the football. We can all agree these four guys, at least I think we can agree. We don't agree on much these days. That
is true.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson are in the tier by themselves. I was struggling maybe Matthew Stafford, but this is what I
on that top tier.
probably agree.
What about that? What about that Jalen?
No.
Oh, what about Jaden?
You're messing up my take.
Okay.
So you're messing up my take. So those four, and maybe Stafford, right? But I just said those four right now are without a doubt, in most people's and GM's opinion, that's the tier one. And then here, I have 12 total. So we're talking top 10. For me, you look at the next tier. This is not in order. Do not freak out. I want to make sure we understand this. Shady, especially you. Okay, Herbert, Stafford, Goff. I do believe Jaden Daniels is in that next tier, okay? Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud. Now, when you're looking at those second tier of guys, is it glaringly obvious that Purdy doesn't belong with that group of guys? Like, glaringly from just looking at this, does he not belong in that category to you guys?
A couple dudes missing off of there.
Yeah. No, not to me.
It's not
glaring.
not glaring, right? And I think for me, to get this list down to a top 10, it's like, okay, where does Purdy fit in that area? To me, I think I'm taking out Dak, and I think I'm taking out C.J. Stroud, right? And I think you can slide Purdy into that. Now, let me just get to the whole point of why I think that Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback. Okay, QBs, and this is what everyone up here is going to say because I'm already ready for it. QBs are supposed to run the system of the head coach. People think, and a lot of people out there think, that labeling quarterbacks as a system quarterback is bad. Every head coach I have been with that is going to go into the Hall of Fame, Andy Reid and Sean Payton, okay, played with them, been in their quarterback meetings. They want their quarterbacks to be system quarterbacks. You have to be really good at running the system at which it's deployed. And I think that's what Brock Purdy is good at. I don't think there's, oh, can Brock lead this team to that? No, Brock is on the San Francisco 49ers for a reason, and they picked Brock Purdy above their number 3 pick in Trey Lance to run it. They're going to pay him close to $55 million a year. So if it really means you run the system and you run it really well, to me, that's what matters. He runs it at a really high level, and quite honestly, he's still got to go out there and make the throws that he needs to make day in and day out.
You know, left side. Left side of the table. Left side of the table. I'm being respectful. Hey, real quick before we go, can Scouts honor? Can we all? Because you already went, us three. Can we all say we're gonna be honest here?
Yeah. Is it right here?
Yeah. Yes, I will. Scouts honor. Or you already went.
This Mockingjay?
I don't know what that is. Well, do you all agree to be honest?
Honest.
Okay.
I hereby agree to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Me too. Okay.
Your
Go
truth.
ahead, James.
Your
Go ahead,
truth.
James. Go ahead, James. Great
Your
take.
truth.
All right,
Great
so
take. Great take.
there is absolutely nothing against Brock Purdy up here.
At all.
We all believe Brock Purdy's a good quarterback in the National Football League. Now, if this was top 10 quarterback combined with everything you have, I would say Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback, combined with everything you have, the coach, everything around you and all that. But you guys help me here, all right? Because when I do special players, elite players, top 10 players, and all that, I go off of what if this dude was on the worst team in football?
Ooh.
If Brock Purdy was on the worst team in football, is it 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League that you will take over Brock Purdy? My answer is yes. And you didn't have the Jordan Loves up there. You didn't have a lot of good quarterbacks up there that I believe that I would take over Brock Purdy if my team was terrible. Now, if you're talking about a dude in a system, running a system to perfection, that is the Jimmy G's and that is the Brock Purdy's. And I'm sure Jimmy G wouldn't be on none of y'all's list up there, but Jimmy G has been to the Super Bowl.
Yes, he has.
Jimmy G has been to NFC Championship because what the owner just said, combined with Cal Shanahan, combined with everything they had over there. So it's nothing against Purdy, but when you ask me top 10 quarterback, I go off of if you're on the worst team. And we always talk about 7th round draft pick and all that type of stuff. I don't really care nothing about that. But the main thing I do care about is every coach got to see this dude in pads and a helmet. And every coach got to see this dude in shorts and shirts, throw the football, run, look the way he's supposed to look. And we say this draft class week, oh, Brock Purdy's draft class, oh, my God. I mean, the top quarterback was Kenny Pickett.
No way.
Then it was Desmond Ritter, Malik Willis, Matt Carroll, Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, Skylar Thompson. Oh, my God.
God, it's good.
This is just so absurd. I'm gonna let this clip play, but they just, my gosh, they take forever to get through their takes. I talk about stretching out takes, but we gotta start this party. First off, who cares where you were drafted? We've seen them play in the NFL. We've seen Kenny Pickett, Bailey Zappi, etc., all play in the NFL. So just stop. Stop. If we were still trying to figure out who these players were in year one, I could understand a little bit. But we saw Brock Purdy lead this team both years to an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl. So just stop with this. And yes, Jimmy Garoppolo, with a great team and a great coaching staff, had similar team success, but nowhere near in the way that Brock Purdy did it. To say that Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo are similar is just absurd. It really is. Let's just even look at the playoffs. Let's just look at the playoffs with the 49ers. Okay? What he did in 2019 and 2021. 63.8 completion percentage, 58.1, 427 yards over the 3 games, 535 over the 3 games, 7.2 yards, 7.4 yards per attempt, averaging 142.3 yards per game in 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl, and 178 in 2021. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. A 75.9 rating, 72.7 rating. I mean, this was not earth-shattering here. They were winning, kind of pulling Jimmy Garoppolo there with him. All right? I mean, this was what he looked like in the Super Bowl. 20 for 31, 219 yards, 7.1 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a 69.2 rating. And if you really care about the QBR, 42.6. I mean, he was not great. And this was against an inferior Chiefs team relative to the defense that Brock Purdy had to face. Compare that to Brock Purdy, who was 23 for 38, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, an 89.3 rating, and a 70.5 QBR, who played really, really, really well. Got less from his run game, had his big running back not be so big, quite frankly, at least from from a rushing standpoint. Obviously, still was able to step up receiving, had a fumble, crucial fumble, opening drive, if memory serves me correctly. Had the muff punt, Greenlaw, etc. We know the story. And, went to overtime, 25 to 22. And again, this was against the Kansas City Chiefs, had the best defense in the NFL. They were giving up like 17 points a game. They held the Baltimore Ravens to 10 points in the AFC Championship game. So we can stop with the Jimmy Garoppolo comparisons and the nonsense, okay? Because this is what Brock Purdy did on his 2 playoff runs. A 109.8 passer rating, an 88.3, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 258 yards per game, 189 yards per game. Again, on the 2 sets of playoff runs. 65% completion percentage, 61. Like this is pretty high level football. He helped elevate this team. He did. This team played better with Brock Purdy. Just because they had success with Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't mean that Brock Purdy didn't elevate them. Doesn't mean that they were on the same level. Just because they both didn't win the Super Bowl doesn't mean they're equal. Okay? Kenny Pickett played pretty decent with the Philadelphia Eagles when Jalen Hurts got injured. You're not going to tell me that Jalen Hurts didn't elevate the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you don't believe that, then I don't know what to tell you. Then you don't understand that 1 + 1 = 2. That you don't understand that this is blue. You're just like, nope, this is green. It's like, there's no way for me to reliably explain it to you. Like, this is blue. I don't there's no math and science for me to show you. Because I don't even want to just rely on statistics, because statistics mean nothing. Someone the other day tried to be like, Justin Fields had a higher passer rating than Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, if you think that means that Justin Fields is better, then I don't know what to I really don't know what to tell you. But it's just like, if you just actually just watch the games and you compare them with statistics, you start to see a little bit more of a complete picture here. Like, even if we just look at the Super Bowl, the biggest game, Brock Purdy was not a liability. Was he the answer? No. I think that's okay to admit. He was not the answer, right? He wasn't able to necessarily 100% overcome some of the issues that the 49ers faced throughout that game, which is okay. Not every quarterback's going to be able to do that every single game. But Jimmy Garoppolo at times was a legitimate liability, something that the 49ers and Shanahan had to hide, had to navigate around. And this idea that Brock Purdy, because if you put him on a terrible team, dude, all of these quarterbacks would be worse. There's a reason, as JCT Slice put it, and JCT Slice is the one that told me about this clip, so shout out to you, thank you. He brought up Patrick Mahomes. Everyone talks about all the injuries that offense has had, and et cetera, and we see Patrick Mahomes' numbers go down, his production go down, his offense go down. So if it's Patrick Mahomes, the Patrick Mahomes that everyone knows is elite, if he looks worse on a worse team, on a worse offense, then Brock Purdy's not allowed to also not be as great if he was on a worse team. That logic doesn't actually really make sense. And it makes more sense to hold the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, this is what I always say, to a higher standard, because we're trying to figure out, is that guy the GOAT? If we were trying to figure out if Brock Purdy was the GOAT, then I think it's just it's open season. And let's unpack every little thing we possibly can. I think that's totally a fair game. It was totally a fair game with Tom Brady to figure out how much is Bill Belichick and his defenses leading to these wins. Let's really look at it. And I think that's totally fair. It's totally fair because you're trying to figure out, is this the greatest quarterback to ever live? And I think that's totally fair. And I think it is totally fair that the Josh Allens of the world, the Lamar Jacksons, etc., yes, they will be better on worse teams, mainly because of their physical skill set. Okay, a Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson will be able to be better quarterbacks with no run game. If you just have no run game at all, you have a terrible run game, they will be better quarterbacks than the Brock Purdys of the world. And that's okay. Again, you could be a Brock Purdy super fan, and it's okay to admit that. That's totally understandable. Totally understandable. But that only gets you so far. That's just one part of the equation. It's only one part of the equation. Technically, Justin Fields would probably be a better quarterback than some of these other quarterbacks without a run game, with a worse team, technically, because of some of the physicality that you can do. As long as you have a good enough coach who knows what to do, you can probably win some games. You can have some versatility there. But to pretend like everybody can do what Brock Purdy can do, it's just wrong. It's just fundamentally wrong. And again, what Brock Purdy does within the system, what is asked of him to do, he's operated that offense like near flawlessly, which is why he led that team to 2 NFC championship games, why he got that team to a Super Bowl. And he stepped up. Did he play perfect in the playoff games against the Packers and the Lions? Absolutely not. He definitely had some moments when you're like, oh boy, you're trying to give this game away. But Patrick Mahomes has had those moments. Josh Allen has had those moments. I can just go on and on. Lamar Jackson, all of them. They've all had those moments. And Brock Purdy overcame them, though. And he was an integral part that got them into the Super Bowl, that got them wins, that got them past the Packers, past the Lions. I'm not going to act like Brock Purdy's going to just walk into any situation and light the league on fire. But to undermine what he can offer a team and how well he can play, it really just doesn't make sense. I mean, if we look at this list, I think Stafford, I always say this with all my Stafford videos, he's the hardest part because I think he is truly elite and special. And if he was with Sean McVay years ago, he would be, bona fide tier 1, whatever. But let's just go along with the whole tier 1, tier 2. I'm not going to get too lost in it. Not even with a quarterback like Jane Daniels, who I'm very high on, just because you got to watch him do it, longer, for a longer period of time. Even with a CJ Stroud as well. Like, I rather just look at the quarterbacks that have actually been in the NFL for more than a couple of years. And so I feel like we should almost just remove Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud from that conversation. Because we've seen Jared Goff play for years. We've seen Stafford, Herbert, Brock Purdy, Hurts, Dak, etc., etc. Brock Purdy undeniably runs a better offense than Dak Prescott and plays better and bigger in more important, bigger, better games. That was a mouthful, but it was accurate. So, that's just a fact right there. That's just a fact. I do think that Matthew Stafford is definitely better than Brock Purdy, but let's not act like Matthew Stafford just lit the Bengals on fire during that, during his Super Bowl run. The difference was that his players stepped up. His team stepped up. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, those guys stepped up and were able to get the job done against an inferior Bengals team. That's the difference. Brock Purdy could be a Super Bowl winner. If you don't muff that punt, they win the Super Bowl. Greenlaw doesn't go down, they probably win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs absolutely attacked whoever went in for him. I forget his name. Attacked. Justin Herbert is a question mark because I think he's been on bad, poorly run teams. I think Justin Herbert's a significantly better quarterback than some people really like to see it. But you just don't see Brock Purdy on this and just say he doesn't belong there. You just don't see it. And again, I'm not going to get involved in the whole Jalen Hurts tier 1 or this or that. I'm just not going to have that conversation in every single video, which is why I don't even want to even have this aspect of the conversation here where we're going to start to compare Brock Purdy to Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels and Dak. It's just less interesting to me, honestly, at this point. I also have no desire to try to force my hand in top 10. It's got to be top 10 or whatever. I do like the tier system personally for quarterbacks. But even that changes. Even that changes because when you're looking at tiers even, it's just I think you could make the argument that, and again, I'm not saying in a vacuum this is necessarily true or even that this is 100% my opinion, but I'm just saying you can make the argument that Lamar Jackson is definitely a better quarterback than Brock Purdy, right? He's tier 1, tier 2. Let's just say that that's truth. But you could also make the argument that Brock Purdy runs an offense better than, say, Lamar Jackson. You could absolutely make that argument. You could absolutely. Now, does that mean that Brock Purdy's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson? No, I'm not saying that. So again, when we talk about these tiers, it's like, well, what lens? And if we're looking at it through the lens where if you were a bad team, what quarterback would still be able to win some games and survive, and carry this team? It's a different conversation. It really is. Right. Jordan Love might have the potential to really win a shootout and really carry the Packers in a crazy onslaught game more so than Brock Purdy. Again, I think that could be a total valid argument. But yet you're not going to tell me that Jordan Love runs an offense and executes an offense and a game plan better than Brock Purdy. That has not been shown to be the case at all yet. It just hasn't been. Maybe one day, but just as of right now, it hasn't. Not at all. So you have to figure out, what are you actually asking of your quarterback? And that's why this whole idea of who's a top 10 quarterback of this or that, it's like, it depends what you need from your team. What you need from your quarterback. What are the expectations? What is asked of you? People will say, oh, Jalen Hurts was on this team. They wouldn't have won he wouldn't win a Super Bowl. And it's like, I don't think anyone cares. No one in the Philadelphia Eagles care. They needed Jalen Hurts to be exactly who they needed him to be. And he directly led to 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl win. That's all they needed from him. And he executed flawlessly in both Super Bowls. You can't tell me that he was carried by his team and then have him individually put up the performances that he did in multiple Super Bowls. Multiple Super Bowls. You can't constantly just give all the credit to the team around you. That does not make sense, which I had already unpacked very deeply, especially with Jalen Hurts and why we don't do that for Patrick Mahomes and et cetera, et cetera. So this conversation never goes anywhere in a productive manner, honestly, because we're never actually having an accurate discussion about what we're actually talking about. It's like, what don't you want a don't you want a great team? Like, we talk about Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and all that they can elevate a team more than a Brock Purdy, and yet those quarterbacks can't win a Super Bowl. So I agree, we can say that those quarterbacks are better and can elevate a team better, but at the same time, some of those quarterbacks have actually been further away than Brock Purdy for winning a Super Bowl. So it's just like, so then at that point, like, what good is a skill set if it doesn't even lead you ultimately to a Super Bowl? Does it give you some accolades? Do you get to say you're the MVP? Do you get to say you led the team, the NFL in yards or, whatever, completion percent, whatever it may be, touchdowns? Yeah, which is awesome. And you get to admire how great that quarterback is. And, maybe if you're living in a fantasy land, you would be like, oh, I wish I could be that good, right? Sure. If you're going to go play Madden, you're going to want to play him. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you're asking yourself, as a fan of the game, as a fan of a team, what ultimately will matter most in those moments? The ability to run the offense, build a good to great team and run the offense. Get the job done. You don't need to be a superhero. Ultimately, you need a quarterback who can run and execute an offense, and when occasionally asked to really step up or shoulder the burden of the team, you can do that. And that is exactly what a quarterback like Jalen Hurts has shown to be able to do. That's exactly what the Mahomes is, the Josh Allens, etc. And I'd make the argument that we've seen Brock Purdy do that. Now, have we seen Brock Purdy do it at the highest level in terms of his peak performance in terms of and in a Super Bowl? No, not necessarily. Right? We've seen that, and that's why I think Jalen Hurts is a good comparison, because the average person doesn't think that Jalen Hurts is on the level of like a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes. And I'd say, depending on who you ask, some people will say that Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy, and other people will say that Brock Purdy is better than Jalen Hurts. And again, I'm not trying to get into that conversation, but my point is that not all quarterbacks need to look like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. It's just not like this. So I don't know.
You're taking Brock Purdy ahead of 10 quarterbacks. You're probably not.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that was a great take. Everything I wanted to say, you said it perfectly. And you did the Scott's out. It was honest.
Real quick before you go. So it was.
We got to chase. Home, we got to go chase.
I don't know where
because
the
you had
13th.
Jordan
gotta go,
Love.
man.
You added Jordan Love to this.
Just, yeah, I'm
So
Jordan Love's definitely.
Brock Purdy's top 13. Okay, so 3.
Yeah, well, top 10. He's not the so the answer is
Semantics.
no. He's not the top 10. I'm gonna say no as well. But the first thing you said I did like, you said we all love
No question.
Brock Purdy on the show. And real quick for all the viewers out there, right? Because I think I'd be hating on some players, and I don't. You could be a really, really good player and not be elite. You could be a really good player and not be top 10.
that is
There's
true
nothing
facts.
wrong with that. There's more players that's not top 10 in their position than there is. You get what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's get to it, though.
Wow.
So everything James said, I'm going to add this a little more because that was great. But when I look at Brock Purdy, so I went back all the way back to college, though, because I had to get this thing right because I know Chase was going to come support this brother. So I had to really come prepared. And I started looking like, do you ever remember, like, you ever like see like players in college that have all these great stats, all these great passing yards, all these great rushing touch, all this great stuff? And then the guys like Hawaii quarterbacks, the guys like, I won't get into the Tebow's number, but a lot of guys that put a lot of stats up, the
Ohio
Texas
State
Tech.
quarterbacks, all them.
All the guys,
Yeah.
and then why they never get drafted or they 7th round draft picks? Because their talent is not like that, okay? So that's one part. So Brock Purdy, to me, I don't think he's super talented. That's why he went so late in the draft, last pick in the draft, okay? But then he comes to the Niners.
Yeah.
And he proved a lot of people wrong. Like, I'm better than what you thought I was. Maybe I'm not as talented, but I am better than what you thought I was. Something the owner just said, though. He said, Brock's a top 10 quarterback, you know, and we like him. But when you combine him with Kyle Shanahan, and you combine him with the team, he's a top 10 quarterback. I don't mind that take.
Don't mind that at all.
I don't mind it because now you adding the coach and you adding the player and all
No
that.
doubt.
And
And
then
that
when I look
matters.
at Brock Purdy, that makes sense because when I look at the stats, in 2022 he had 7 All-Pros. In 2023 he had 7 All-Pros. And he was 13-4, 12-5. NFC Championship game, Super Bowl. Makes sense. In 2024 he had 3 All-Pros. No playoffs, no NFC Championship game, no Super Bowl. 6-11. Oh, it makes sense. A guy that's not as talented that went the last pick in the draft because of his talent, right?
God.
Can't get
Goes to a good team, but you combine him with a really good coach. You combine him with all pros, they win games.
This is the dumbest take ever, because then what about Joe Burrow? No playoffs, a bad record, you know, no NFC champion, AFC championship game, no Super Bowl. Like, what are you saying then? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, that take makes no sense, because now you're using team success. And then what about the other quarterbacks? There's plenty of other quarterbacks that have great rosters and don't win. They don't win. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott, which I assume Shady doesn't think that he's probably top 10 either, which is fine. You know, which is fine. I don't really know. I'm not up to date on LaShawn McCoy's top 10 quarterback list. But we have to stop pretending like this all because you have a great team around you that you automatically like it doesn't make sense. Because his defense was also trash. He had a terrible defense. Terrible defense. Patrick Mahomes had the 49ers defense this past year over his last 2 years. He does not make a Super Bowl. It's just basic math. It's just basic elementary math. They were not scoring enough points. So this is just so absurd. It really is. It's so absurd. If they had a better defense, they could have won a couple more games, a few more games, made the playoffs. And if they had an elite defense, if they had a top 3 defense, top 2, top 1, it changes everything. Literally changes everything. Oh, man. Just goes to show you, man, no matter how good you are at something, doesn't mean that you know everything. This is crazy. That is just crazy.
So when you talk about top 10, I look at top 10 as super elite talent or you're a winner that wins Super Bowls. Brock Purdy does not fit in that category. He doesn't, right? And when we talk about elite guys, I could drop you anywhere on this planet, anywhere on any team, and you're going to produce. I can't say that because when I watched Brock Purdy, because I thought already that most people thought, he has to be around a good supporting cast. When you take that supporting cast from around him, what does he give you? he gave you 6 and 11, no playoffs.
Yeah.
So when you talk about putting a guy top 10 and paying that type of money, that's why the issue's having it, though. The issue with him is you want to get paid top 3 money, and you not really top 3, top 4, top 5.
So you said he's
The top 10, you have to be elite or win Super Bowls. Makes no sense because then there's not enough 10 of those players. I don't even know if there's 10. Is there even like 4 active quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl right now? It's Mahomes, Stafford, Russ, if we can kind of include him, Jalen Hurts, like technically Aaron Rodgers, but we're not really counting Aaron at this point either. Like, what are we saying here? You either win Super Bowls or you're super elite. I agree. Super elite to me is like 3, 4. There's not 10 elite quarterbacks. They have some elite skill sets. You can be like an elite runner and maybe not a top 10 quarterback, or something like these conversations just always just get so messy.
He's not a super elite winner, right? He was 17-4 his first 2 years, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl. How can you say
just said
just because one?
Hold up.
Just because 1 year?
What I said to you was, I said, when you talk
In
about
your top 10.
When you talk, you said I was top 10?
No, in your top 10.
What I'm saying is, for you to be considered a winner, we talking about winning some games. That's cute. We win Super Bowls. Either you win a Super Bowl because you're a winner, or you elite of the elite talent. And I feel like he don't fit nowhere in them categories. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%.
Okay. All right.
I think Brock Purdy's top 10. What I love about this conversation is it's simple, right? I'm not going to get all emotional because I just listen. I listen. Shady said top 10 for him is a super elite talent or that you win Super Bowls, close quote. Brock Purdy don't fit in that. Yeah. James Jones said for him, when I do quarterbacks, I go off. When he's on the worst team in football, does he make them better? Will he make them better? Brock Purdy don't fit into that. That's not how I do top 10. I do top 10 in the system you are in. Let's remove the hypothetical. How well do you run in the system that you are in? For me to do top 10 based off James's, that's doing it hypothetically. Hey, if I put you on some arbitrary team with some arbitrary coach and an arbitrary roster, how would you arbitrarily play? I don't know. I know how Brock Purdy plays in the system that he's in. Shady's isn't as hypothetical, but Brock Purdy does not fit into Shady's. But I won't discredit how Shady contrives his top 10. There's no Webster dictionary of, hey, top 10 quarterbacks definition. But how I do it is based on the system you're in and the coach that's
I gotta get him. I gotta get him.
How do you run your system? Now, there's a reason why Jed York said what he said. Because Jed York probably agrees with 2.5. Like, you don't have to add Kyle Shanahan and add anybody else if you're just talking about the quarterback's talent alone.
Now.
So there's a reason Jed York said what he said. But how I do my top 10 is different than how they do their top 10. I respect how they do their top 10. Right. I just don't agree. So
in a weird way, Acho kind of just said what I said, which I don't even want to necessarily say out loud, because that's what I kind of said. It's like, depends on what lens we're looking at all of this through, which is why my top 10, that's why like I don't have a top 10, and I kind of like this whole floating narrative, this whole, like, I look at it through all the lenses. Like, it's really just how my mind works, which is why then it becomes hard to drill down on this final conclusion of who's 7, who's 8, who's 9, and it's just like, it becomes less important to me, quite frankly. And in a lot of ways, like, James, talked about Jordan Love, and I think to myself, I thought what Jordan Love did was awesome in 23. And in 24, I wanted to see him execute and run the offense better, and I did not see that. So my view changed a little bit. And people kind of talked about, again, they downplayed what Jalen Hurts did, and Jalen Hurts versus the Packers was not earth-shattering, did not, rock the world. But he managed the game at an elite level. He made the right throws. He threw the ball away. He didn't make any of the mistakes, and the Eagles directly won because of that. And you can make the argument that the Green Bay Packers could have won that game if Jordan Love played like Jalen Hurts. That's a fundamental difference. Yet you could point out probably throughout more games that Jordan Love had fireworks just going off when he was playing. More exciting deep throws and, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, the target's always moving in terms of what you need of a quarterback. So I think that's probably another important metric for what considers to be a great quarterback. Can you be what you need to be in any given moment? And that changes. That changes not only from drive to drive, from game to game, quarter to quarter, year to year. It's why Patrick Mahomes does deserve a fair amount of credit for how they've been able to win, because Andy Reid has asked him to be a different quarterback. And not all quarterbacks are capable of doing that. And he's more than willing to do it, and he's done it. So he does deserve credit, because not all quarterbacks can do it. And some quarterbacks get it right in one game, and some quarterbacks get it completely wrong in another game. And that's why you always got to look at it over a longer trajectory, right? You can't just look at it and be like, well, look how this guy, he failed in this game. And it's, yeah, but it was one game. It was one game. But, yeah, I don't know. These conversations, like, anytime I start to kind of zoom in on some of these conversations, like, a part of me, like, I like stop for a second and I go, like, is this what this is, right? Like, we're going to debate who's a top 10 quarterback to the end of time, right? As long as we're sitting back watching these shows, watching football, like, it's just a never ending story of like, who's top 10? Oh, he's not top 10. Like, and I just think to myself, like, are there better conversations surrounding these individual players? And does it matter, or is it just part of it? And I still toss and turn, because sometimes I'm like very into it and I'm very much like, let's figure this out. And other times I'm just like, again, we're having the wrong conversation, trying to figure out your top 10 quarterback. If you could be dropped on any team and be great, that makes you a top 10 quarterback. No, that makes you an awesome and a great quarterback. But that's not the defining characteristic of a top 10 quarterback. Maybe if there were enough of those quarterbacks, like if there were, 10 total quarterbacks who were as good as Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, etc., then sure, then that changes. But technically, if we're actually doing a top 10 number rather than a tier system, then the attributes for a top 10 quarterback are going to change season to season, era to era. It's going to change depending on what's the pool of the 10 quarterbacks. There can be an era where there's really only 2, like, physically gifted, right? We could live in a world where 30 of the quarterbacks are statue quarterbacks and only 2 of them are actually these, really mobile, big, strong, etc., etc. That could absolutely happen one day. I don't think it will, but it could, technically. Then the definition of a top 10 quarterback would have to change. It would have to change. So then if you're looking at it from a tier, you're like, okay, well then what makes you truly on the number 1 tier? What is it? And then again, it depends on what you value most. Because I truly believe you could be a quarterback as great, and again, I'm not saying this is Lamar Jackson, but you could be a quarterback as great as Lamar Jackson, as dynamic, as exciting, as just through the roof of talent and just dynamic, crazy plays where you scramble for like literally 15 seconds and then throw the ball 45 yards down the field for a touchdown. I believe you can do that and also exist as a quarterback where you literally just can't manage the game. You can't just execute the offense how your OC or head coach wants to. That you just struggle to just manage the game. And again, I'm not saying that that's Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying that those types of quarterbacks exist. We've seen them over the years. We've seen a lot of times that could be a backup quarterback. I've always used as an example. There's plenty of backup quarterbacks over the years that show you signs where you're like, he can do what Patrick Mahomes can do, what Josh Allen can do, what some of these guys can do, where you're just like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. That's why people get so excited about some of these backup quarterbacks. But they either can't do it consistently enough, or their floor is so insane that like it's just so low that when the coach is just like, all right, I just need to have a nice, smooth, easy game, take care of the ball. They can't. They fundamentally, physically cannot do it. And that's why they end up being backup quarterbacks. And it's why sometimes they can go on a hot streak and win 3-4 games and have some awesome highlights where people are like, oh my gosh, we can win a Super Bowl with this guy. But then when you watch them play enough, you're like, oh, what the heck was that? And so, I think the stability and consistency of a quarterback is incredibly underrated. And because Brock Purdy is pretty consistent, not ultra flashy, and has been on a great team, they want to use that as a means to bring him down. And it's just, you know, it's interesting to me to see a Brock Purdy level quarterback still be so controversial. But really, it seems to me that every single quarterback is controversial. Every single no matter who we're talking about, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. I mean, my goodness, people are freaking out about Justin Fields recently. Steelers fans, Jets fans, Chicago fans. I mean, it's just crazy. Being a quarterback in the NFL means that you just have just fandom to greater levels than Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, I don't know, whoever is a pop star these days. Couldn't even tell you. It's just wild. It really, 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 really is. And it becomes so binary to a lot of people. They're either amazing, not even top 10, but top 5, or you're trash. You either think the quarterback is unbelievable, or you think that he is just trash. And there's no nuance in it. And I find it really fascinating. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Brock Purdy? Do you agree that he is a top 10 quarterback? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.